Let's talk about K-Rain's product called the RPS Select. It's in fact one of my favorite rotors. I'm really crazy about it because it's got some great features for the average installer, and it's a real help to people that may not quite understand exactly what matched precipitation rates mean or how to go about installing that so that every zone, every head, every area that you're intending to irrigate has the same precipitation rate across the system. And this gives us a really foolproof way of doing that. We're going to talk about that in just a second, but first about the head itself. It has a radius of 33 to 46 feet. This is a 4-inch rotor. It also comes in a 6-inch model and also a shrub rotor. Options for this include a check valve and also a reclaimed water ID or an effluent option, which is basically a purple cap and a purple bonnet. I think K-Rain actually calls this piece right here the cap. Other manufacturers call it a bonnet, but this is the two pieces that come in purple for the reclaimed water ID. And let's take a look at my artist rendition of the top of this head. If we look at the 12 o'clock position, there's a little arrow there, and that indicates the direction that the water is going to come out. That's the right limit. The right limit is fixed on this head. And the screw down in there, K-Rain calls a breakup screw. Other manufacturers call that a nozzle retention screw. And indeed, it retains the nozzle here. And if you run the screw down to the point to where it impedes the flow of water, then it breaks up that stream, shortens the radius, and flattens out the stream for better coverage in short and medium distances. And if we go further down here, we see the Nozzle Selector. That's almost in the top middle there, we see. And we see a 1, 2, 3, and 4. What those are the nozzle selections. And if you put your tool down in here and you turn this nozzle selector, you can see the nozzle turning down in there. So I wouldn't do this too much. I would preset all this stuff before you install it and not try to set this stuff. I mean, you can set it on the fly, but while it's running, you know, it's a little tough to turn this nozzle selector. I would do this just in a dry setting and then turn the system on. Now, down to the right, about the 4 o'clock position, we see the arc indicator. As we change the left limit on this head, this arc indicator tells us what that arc in degrees is. It may say 90, 180, 270, or 360 degrees. And then whatever we set that to, and we change that by the arc adjustment slot down here at 6 o'clock position. And when we change that, we can see that the little arrow changes as well and points to the arc. It's super easy to dry set, super easy to set while it's running. But where we set it as far as an arc indicates where we should set our nozzle selector. We have a graph here that shows the suggested settings. For nozzle number 1, we see a 40 degree to 135 degree range. So that means if we're going to put our head into a 90 degree or a right corner kind of angle, then we're going to put it on nozzle 1. If we're going to go anywhere between 136 to 225 degrees, that's nozzle 2. 226 to 315, that would be nozzle 3. So if your desired selection is a 270 or anywhere close to it, then you would choose nozzle 3. And it gives you a range, and usually the main ones, 90, 180, 270, are right in the middle of these ranges. So it's pretty easy to get right. And of course, selection number 4 would finish up with 316 to 360 degrees. So if we were going to set our head to 360 degrees, a full continuous rotation, we'd put it on nozzle 4. And then on the same zone, if we had a 90 degree head, we would put it on nozzle 1, and the precipitation rates would be matched between those two heads. I think that's really brilliant. Let's take a look here at the video of us adjusting this head. So we want to check the right and left limits. And our right limit is fixed, so if we need to change that, then we'll have to physically adjust the head on orientation. The left limit is changeable, so we're going to put our tool down into the arc adjustment slot and change that, and we can see with the arrow on the arc indicator what it is. And if we need to shorten up the radius, we can stick our screw down here into the breakup screw and run that down to it, and impedes the flow. You can see here that it's flattened out. See it as it turns around there, and then we can just open it right back up to full extension. Most heads are designed to be run at full extension for the best pattern.